right, wheel is still spinning. Okay, all right. I think we're going live in Instagram now. I'm waiting for the other three feeds to boot up. I think we have confirmation live in Instagram. Wheels are still spinning. All right, people are starting to populate on Instagram. Good morning, Instagram. We're waiting for the other feeds to come up here. All right, I see the countdown. Here we go. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I am Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It is a weekly live Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn show where we talk about the life of a master craftsperson, the industry, and paint business entrepreneurship. Special guest today, Mike from Benjamin Moore. Mike and I have known each other for a very long time. If you think I know a lot and think a lot about this industry, Mike is going to blow your mind. He, on orders of magnitudes, he has more industry knowledge, thinks more about this industry than I do. Very special human. Glad to have him on today. Mike, welcome.
Nick, what a pleasure. Absolutely an honor to be part of this.
And so this is actually my first day of a 17-day vacation. This is the longest vacation I've ever taken in my life, but glad to spend that with you here. We're going to talk deeply about standard operating procedures, things that you and I know and love. We're going to talk about some of the PCA standards as well, which you are deeply and spiritually entrenched into, and some of my favorite things on earth. But first, we're going to do some housekeeping. Number one, we have done Spanish Speakers Conference. We've done Women in Paint. We've done residential. We've done commercial in 2024. Now, the crowning achievement, the big one, the Super Bowl, the Expo is coming up in early February. We're going to Colorado Springs. Mike, I'm sure we're going to see you there as well. You never miss them. This is going to be awesome. Benjamin Moore is always very well represented there. They are a champion sponsor of the PCA. And in fact, you guys actually have Rob, one of your big shots, sitting on our board of directors, helping us guide this 140-year-old nonprofit. That's how serious you guys are with this stuff. So the PCA Expo is the greatest thing ever. I've been to about 8 or 9 of them. Mike, you've been to a lot of them too. It is a painting party with 1,500 people, contractors from around the world that are some of the biggest thinkers, biggest doers. They will challenge you on things. They will push you to the ends of what you're capable of, for the good of your business, for your family, and everything else. The education sessions have been worked on for 1 year. There's a separate committee of about 8 human beings that every week they meet and talk about the speakers, the education, the lanes. What about for estimators, for project managers, for business owners, for office coordinators? All of these things are so carefully orchestrated. Thousands of hours have been put into the things that you're going to see in February at this 5-star resort. And I will say this, if you miss it, you're going to have the biggest FOMO, fear of missing out, that you have ever experienced in your life. Every single year that I've gone to PCA Expo, it has gotten bigger. It has gotten better. It has got more intense. And the biggest response that I see after it's done is, I wish I would have been there. That looked like one of the funnest, most life-expanding times ever. So I will tell you guys, do not miss these things. This is the time to do it. As a paint business owner, as a master craftsperson, there's always something to do in your business. There's always a reason to stay home and not go. You're going to be missing out this year. This is going to be the biggest, best one we've ever done. I'm looking forward to spending it with you, Mike, as well.
Hey, Nick, thanks so much. I could say too, in my years, I've never seen an organization that has created such great value. The PCA is just it's been really fun to watch what's the way it has come about. So kudos to you and many, many others that are behind the scenes working hard on it.
Hundreds of humans doing this. And, you guys are serious about this too. You are one of our champion sponsors. We only have 2. You guys put your money where your mouth is. One of the highlights of the entire expo is the night party extravaganza that you throw for all of us and these 1,000+ contractors from all over the world. So you guys are serious about this. You're serious about the industry, and we are here to showcase a little bit of that today. So Mike, I'll be trolling for comments on all these things, but man, where do we even start with describing who you are and what you do for this industry?
Oh, I got to tell you, it's I think the starting point for my really should be a blessing. And what I mean is, what's a blessing? The business has been a blessing. Let's face it. I did not start off to say, I'd love to go back and to grade school and say, I'm going to join the paint business, and it's going to be something that I'm going to learn something every single day.
Yep.
And Nick, the great blessing is that our business, as you know, is a relationship
Oh,
business.
huge.
And with that said, it's just it's for the greater good. I've been in the business for 38 years. I have just celebrated earlier this month my 35th service anniversary with Benjamin Moore. So it's been really a fantastic. I couldn't expect anything greater in a career, and with that said, I've been fortunate to have a number of different positions. I'm not a title person, but I can say that, being in the field majority of the years, working hand in hand with paint contractors,
Yep.
who, by the way, before you know it, holidays come along, and who are you texting with? You're texting with paint contractors throughout the world,
Yep.
and it's just a great feeling to be part of a great organization like Benjamin Moore that is truly customer centric.
Yep.
To where our chairman and CEO, phenomenal individual, Dan Calkins, and Dan started in the field.
Mhm.
And Dan, he's worked hand in hand in the trenches with paint contractors, and our great independent retail channel. There's nothing that as far as living the life. So that's super important when you are vested in the success of your customers. And we're all in at Benjamin Moore, just
Yep.
all in. So
It proves with your actions and your words.
thank you.
What is your current title and what does a day-to-day look like for you?
Yeah, current title is Senior Manager End User Product Experience. And really what that has to do with the is this. We're going to talk later about SOPs.
Yep.
And truly, we are mandated by leadership to every day gain a greater understanding of the desired outcomes, the needs of our customers. So I spend a lot of time, Nick, looking at SOPs. I spend a great deal of time. I smile because you can see I love this. I spend a lot of
Yep.
time with paint contractors. I'm in the field applying with contractors. Essentially, I'll get an experimental formula from the chemists, and I will take that to the field. It's one thing for us to think we make a good product. It's completely different than to take it out there, understand from an SOP basis,
Yeah.
and then work with contractors on spraying, brush roll, and then turn around and report their sentiments, their thoughts to the chemists. And I have to give a shout out. Our chemists are just phenomenal. They're passionate individuals. It's funny. I sit in a lot of meetings with chemists, and they want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly, right? But
Yeah.
by goodness, they get so into it that sometimes when you tell them the ugly, it's like you've just called one of their children, not something bad. So
I
they
was
they
just gonna
really.
say that paint laboratory must be like an incubation tank where these little babies leave their little laboratories, and if you say, "Well, the dry time's a little slow," they, "Oh, that's my little Scuffex. What are you
And
talking about? You can't say that about that,"
And I can tell you that sentiment holds true with our passionate product managers.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The product managers they're all in, and once again, it's we're truly a customer centric organization.
Yep.
We strive each day, and I can say that in the 38 years. Uh, I can honestly say that there rarely is a day that goes by that I don't learn something about this business.
Yep.
So I always encourage those that are new in the industry, be open-minded, learn every day, pick up a journal, watch your podcasts,
Yep.
especially join the PCA.
Oh my god, yeah.
So tremendous value that's provided there. I'm essentially executing the mission statement of Benjamin Moore every day, and that is to lead the paint industry with relentless focus
Wow.
on those who use our products, an unwavering commitment to the independent retailer, and of course, the development of best-in-class products, services, and experiences. And I can't highlight experiences enough because, once again, we're so blessed to be in a relationship business. That
Yeah.
that's really what makes it all all worth it. The million plus miles on United Airlines flying around, as you know, and the 50 states and the 6 out of 10 Canadian provinces and over to Europe. It's all about the people. We're blessed to be in such a great industry.
And, typical upper Midwest, oh shucks, low self-esteem attitude. I've been a part of this industry. I mean, we're 30 plus years for me. I got started by my father. We've been in this for a very long time. And sometimes people like me from an area of the country like me can have this attitude of like, yeah, but we're not special. Like everybody likes their job, right? Everybody's deeply passionate about the humans and the things. Turns out that is not a universal truth in most areas. You only have to go like I went for a preview visit to the Broadmoor, the place that we're going to have the Expo, right? And there was an insurance conference going on there. And when I walked around that insurance conference, I kind of snuck my way in and out, observing, listening. And you know what? Didn't seem like a bunch of deeply passionate people who have spent their life doing this. And there's one way of like, hey, we love the entrepreneurship, we love monetary and physical success in this thing. But then there's a whole nother thing to actually like the craft of what you do. And I'm sure there are people who love life insurance, like I love paint, like you love paint, but there's not as many. Not that I could tell in this crowd. So I have gotten over slowly this oh shucks attitude that, well, we're not special. Everybody likes this. It is not true. We are in a very special industry at a very special time, surrounded by very special people who actually have found their passions. And that is a blessing, like you say. And I'm trying not to take it for granted.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the PCA is sort of this concentration point of that. And so not only do we have an industry full of it, the PCA is like that lighthouse out there, and all the core value moths are just attracted to it. And then the culmination of that is this and Expo and things like that. And truly, truly amazing times.
Yeah, and just learning second to none. It's just a phenomenal opportunity to grow and to collaborate. Right. So it's exciting. And of course, once again, knowing the Broadmoor, like I know the Broadmoor, you're in for a treat. They are in for a treat with that facility. It is second to none in that place. And you know what? The industry deserves it. We're first class, and the Broadmoor is a first class place, great facilities, and the environment is going to be set for some phenomenal learning and collaboration.
So there is Colorado Springs is also the Olympic Training Center. So you're literally in a town that surrounds itself with excellence. The best competitive minds, the best physical athletes in the country are there, and it shows the DNA of the town, the DNA of the Broadmoor is there. It's a historic five-star resort. When you pull your car up, you have to go through a gate with permission. When you pull your car up, somebody's going to open your door and take your bags to your room and guide you there. And our phenomenal operations team, and with the help of Benjamin Moore, champion, we were able to secure this place for less than a hotel room in Orlando per night. That's
Wow.
how effective our staff is. So if you want to talk about unique experiences, our Orlando expos are always going to be phenomenal. Disney World is going to be there, families, but there's going to be very few opportunities for people to stay at a true five-star historic resort at the base of mountains in the wilderness to do one of these again. So I'm looking forward to spending it with you and everybody else.
Future inspirational time, from the environment to just the whole program. So
You got it. All right, so let's first talk standard operating procedures, SOPs. You know and love them. I know and love them. What do they look like in your life?
Yeah, in my life, a couple of different things. First of all, as I said, not a better way to really gain a greater understanding of how contractors, the jobs they do,
Yep.
is by understanding how they do the job. It kind of goes hand in hand, Nick, with a methodology, an innovation methodology that I practice. And with that said, it's really, you can't go wrong by really understanding your customer.
Mm.
And with that in mind, SOP is one of the ways to do that. But looking at SOPs, obviously, what's the importance of them? Well, I can tell you that, first of all, that you're creating efficiencies, as you know. You stop and you think, and from a project management perspective, I can think back on my management days in college, and I can tell you that there's such a thing as called the iron triangle, right? And that triangle is rigid, the sides, and it's made up of budget, scope, and schedule, right? So you look at budget, scope, and schedule, and if you alter one side of that triangle, whether it be the budget, whether it be the scope, whether it be the schedule, you're going to get, you're going to be challenged.
Yep.
SOPs put you in a situation to really function within that iron triangle.
Mm.
So, from a managerial perspective, I think it's super important to create SOPs. But I believe that the biggest winner when it comes to when you create your SOPs is your customer,
Yeah.
because you're establishing repeatable quality, and let's face it, isn't that what we're trying to do? Isn't it? It's vital for all of us to differentiate ourselves, right? We are hired to do a job. We are in the service industry, and subsequently being in the service industry, we are. We're put in a position to where the SOPs, being that they should create that predictable quality,
Yep.
that you're going to satisfy your customer. Also, too, you look at it, you do a great job in many of things, and I love your references of what we do with humans, right?
Yeah.
And look at it from a training perspective.
Oh, God.
The SOPs really develop your people, and your people is really what it's all the business. If you humor me for a second, I'd like to run an exercise.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
And the exercise is that I've generated a top 10 list of desired outcomes that homeowners have when they hire a paint contractor, right? And if I could have you being the champion of
Oh, yeah.
SOPs,
Yeah.
and by the way, I applaud the way you've shared your SOPs.
Yeah.
And of course, you've encouraged others to create their SOPs.
Yep.
But if I could just, I'll read. I'll just go through some of the top 10, maybe not all the top 10, but
Of
I'll
course.
share
Yeah.
some points out here of what our customers, your customers, are looking for. When I say desired outcomes, I mean simply put their needs. And,
Yeah.
and the question I would pose when I give one of the 10, does an SOP positively influence that need, or does it negatively? And the first one, obviously, when a homeowner hires a paint contractor, they want quality of work, right? Homeowners want a high quality finish that enhances the aesthetic appeal of their home. This includes smooth application, even color coverage, and attention to detail. And I ask you the question, does an SOP help you with that top desired outcome?
I can visualize the 4 interior and 3 exterior SOPs that will deliver exactly that in my company. These are the bread and butter of my company. Always yes, forever and ever, all the time.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And of course, it goes on to professionalism, number 2, right?
Yep.
Does an SOP, so for our audience, if you're really debating on, do I really need to develop my SOPs? Once again, we're 2 for 2 here. Quality of work, professionalism. Number
Yep.
3, timeliness, right? It's great how when we look at desired outcomes, and obviously our customers at Benjamin Moore are paint contractors, and of course, that's that application characteristics, and subsequently the post application
Oh, yeah.
characteristics that are involved for your customers, which are our customers too. And you look at it, and one of the things they share is, in majority of situations, that's the same majority, is minimize the time it takes to do the job.
Yep.
Right? Let's face it. The homeowner, they want to get the job done. They want a high quality job, but they don't want disruption in their life. So subsequently, if I look at it from a standpoint of timeliness,
Yep.
does an SOP benefit the paint contractor and ultimately their customer, the homeowner, when it comes to the development of SOPs? And I can say, sure. And naturally, cost effectiveness, right?
Yep.
That goes along with that iron triangle of budget, of cost, expert advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you are really putting deep thought into your SOP and your process and so forth like that, my goodness, your expert advice. You're definitely an expert when it comes to that.
Yep.
Cleanliness is another thing that homeowners want. I'll make an admission to you, Nick. I came prepared today with the wall painting for our bedroom SOP checklist.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Sounds
And I'm not,
familiar.
yeah, it should, because of that's some of your great work. And I love one of the closing things is carefully remove and fold up the drop cloths, right? So cleanliness, let's face it, that definitely goes hand in hand with professionalism, you know.
And Mike,
Uh,
this is how far. And so for me, there's SOP checklist, which is the 17 steps to paint a bedroom in 4 hours, and then there's the training SOP, and it's really interesting. The slide or slides that I have for that particular number step, whether it's number 14 or 15, I can't remember, but we literally go through this training process of you slide the drop cloth across the carpet and carefully roll it up. You don't just pick it up and do one of these because your wall paint is tacky and you're going to shoot all that stuff out. Second part of that SOP training module is you take it on a hardwood floor or a tile floor or in the grass and shake it out. If it's on the inside, you shake it out on a hardwood floor, vacuum it up, so then you don't take that stuff to the next house for allergenic reasons or cleanliness reasons. So that's how deep we go. That one little step is a big thing, and it takes a half an hour to train in my company.
that's absolutely, but the goal there of differentiation, elevation of the trade and differentiation come to mind right away.
Yep.
And subsequently, to me, that truly does elevate the trade. That truly does set your business up for success. And once again, looking at the other attributes that are desired: durability, safety and compliance, warranty and support, satisfaction. Once again, we've just gone through the top 10 list of needs, or say per se desired outcomes,
yep,
of the homeowner for when they hire a paint contractor, what they're looking for. And we see that in every single one, the positive impact that an SOP, and that's not even getting into the efficiency of the business in order to set yourself up for for financial success. It truly does puts one on the way of differentiating themselves and elevating the trade. So kudos to you for always being a champion of the SOPs.
Well, and what the one thing that was a brutal slap in the face to somebody who would consider themselves a master craftsperson, who, with the help of Benjamin Moore, I have learned the molecular science of some of the coatings I use, like how the little balls and sticks move together. The biggest slap in the face to me ever was when you look at your top 10 list, it's likely only one of them has to do with the quality of the actual paint job. The rest of it is literally every other humanistic thing that revolves around the actual beautiful finish that you do. And what I wanted success to be determined by in this industry is I can run a crappy business. I don't have to treat people nice. I can do whatever I want, but as long as that finish is good, we're good. That is only one of, you have the 10 list. It might be 50 items that the client is getting the experience on. And that, to me, honestly, the longer I do this, the more I realize that's the most easily solvable thing. All the other human things actually take a lot of work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you got into that molecular, now you're into what I do.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
I mean? And what I mean by that is back to your 4-hour bedroom SOP checklist. I'll reference 12D. I'm not going to ask you to repeat 12D. You probably know it, but I'm going to say that, apply uniformly, then finish strokes with roller in one direction as you go. Now, my question would be, and I think I know the answer, but why one direction, Nick?
Because I'm a dictator. No, it's not because I'm a it's literally because with today's immensely quality application tools and insanely premium acrylic paints, it's almost kind of hard to get flaws. But to me, that's belt and suspender, which is you always want to eliminate those V's, those W's in the walls where you grain the paint, where the light catches it differently. So for me, honestly, a really well-trained master craftsperson, a Mike and a Nick, we can go top to bottom in different directions. And we're so careful that you don't get those. But for these young apprentices, it takes literally 2 extra seconds on a roller thing to just start at the top, light pressure, do doot, doot over that. And then you're guaranteed not to get any of those things should you have an errant something in there.
Absolutely. And I think of obviously what I believe is one of the top desired outcomes of a paint contractor is minimize the possibility of lap marks or non-uniform substrates, right? But
Yeah.
also too, I think about one of the biggest challenges we face from an application perspective, our contractors, that is, looking at it from a standpoint of touch up, right? I say it, I wanted to get your face here, but that one direction,
Yep.
right? That one direction sets that grain up, right? Of the roller,
Yep.
the sleeve. But I look at it from a standpoint of that's really what premium products do, whether it's one direction or not. And what I mean by that is stipple pattern. When you're rolling and you see a stipple pattern, right? You see a product like Regal Interior, which is the heritage of Benjamin Moore, or Aura. Let's face it, the rheology of those types of products should help deliver that uniformity and that touch up, which it
and
does.
not should, absolutely
Yeah.
do. That is a universal truth.
So that's why I spend a lot of time looking at SOPs, and really, as I smile and think of all the time I get to spend with contractors, absolutely watching. It's almost like it's experience in Michael Porter's motion studies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's so important. And once again, I learn every single day, and fortunately, I work for a company that is committed, absolutely mandated that by the leadership, that we gain each day, set out to gain a greater understanding of our customers' needs.
Well,
So,
and your million miles of travel are indicative of a universal truth, which is you can write all these SOPs down. You can take my 4-hour bedroom and you can print it off, throw it in a drawer, throw it in a file cabinet. And if you don't then express it and work with people, that human interaction, it is completely useless. You can have the most beautiful standard operating procedure in the world, but if it's not delivered with a human, if it's not supported, if it's not manipulated with that human to human interaction, it's worthless. And your proof that you travel all over the country is this is not something you sit at a desk and manipulate over a computer and emails to do your job. The experience of humans, whether they be contractors or clients, you can write some stuff down. You can have a baseline. So we all have the definition of that or a process that we can all rely on. But after that, the squishy stuff, the hard stuff is all the human interaction.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's a heck of a lot of fun too, Nick.
We have such great people in the industry, and
Absolutely.
like you said, constant learning. There has never been a time where I've done an industry event, gone to somebody's shop, gone to a master's class, gone to a factory, where I haven't had some idea or thought changed of mine by new information that I've had, and that's a beautiful place to be in.
Yeah. And looking back, Nick, you said in the intro about this special time that we are in this industry. And I totally agree with that. And remember, 38 years in the business, right? And I have never seen uh, a greater time, a more exciting time to be in our business.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, as a father, I'm proud that my son is a rep. I'm proud that my son is. It's never that I set out and said, "My goodness, I want you to be in the paint business." But I didn't discourage it, and he picked it up on his own, and he's experiencing it the way I've experienced it. And quite honestly, I totally agree when you say we are in a special time. And I don't know really, Nick, and help me with this. I don't know if it's the advancement in technology with software suites and, I think back 40 years ago, by goodness, Nick, the paint contractor didn't know if they were making money until the bills were paid, and months down the road, where now it's become so scientific. It's become, there's so many tools, including the PCA. There's so many tools that are provided to where, by goodness, if you really just embrace the business and be all in. I tell people, my family's the business of the Mundwillers is a financial business, and when I say that, I was fortunate, such a great father and mother and my dad, being in a financial business. I tell him all the time, Dad, the paint business is an amazing business. I see more so now than before
Mm.
generational wealth created by
Yes.
being a paint contractor,
Yep.
and there, you everybody can win.
Yep.
Everybody can win, and there's such great resources out there that it's a viable business, absolutely a viable business. I think back and you know, uh, I don't want to start naming names because somebody's going to say, Mike, you didn't say me.
Yeah.
I can think of some PCA members that we have out of Toronto who he too is his family business, is financial and Jeff Bushhausen, I'll just say it, great
Yep.
guy,
Yep.
Jeff and Joel. And Jeff will tell you that his father, being a financial guy, really was suspect when he got out of school. That hey, I'm going to
Oh,
go start a painting business. It's viable. It's cutting edge.
yeah.
It's a great time to be in the business.
Well, it's unique. I've had a lot of experiences, and being on the PCA board of directors, we have to take some larger esoteric thoughts on the industry. We can't just be tactically reacting to certain things, and we reflect a lot on where the industry was, where it's been. And I was fortunate enough to be gifted a typewriter written history of the PCA. By the person, my predecessor, Dan Ross, a great mentor of mine. I took over his spot on the board of directors 5 years ago. And in 1956, the PCA convened a committee to actually research the history of the PCA. And it goes back to 1884. But what's really interesting, and I don't think people give enough credit for, is that the origins start in 1820 with a group of craftspeople that banded together for standards. That group became then the PCA. So really, if you want to think about it, this is a 200-year history of people organizing, building a community, collaborating together. And when we reflect on the industry now, it is not with shallow words that I say that this is an interesting time. 63% of our industry is Spanish speaking. In the late 1800s, the PCA was complaining about the lack of Eastern European immigrants for a labor force. Where are the Polacks? Where are the Czechs? Where are the Germans? Where are the Slovakians and things like that? And now the entire industry has changed. We're seeing younger people. We're seeing more diverse people. We're seeing more entrepreneurial people. My God, we've had two women in paint conferences where 100 plus of the most rabid women business entrepreneurs in our industry get together. That's as many as commercial contractors get together. So this is a special time. And I think, like you said, the reflection is correct. This has always been a great industry. People have
Yes.
been passionate for 200 years. We're actually now coming to terms with it, being okay with it, and now being intentional with it as a freedom machine to grow generational growth. And I think that's where, Mike, your reactions are the same as mine. There's some people getting after it out there in a serious
Mhm.
with all these things. And we're seeing millions and millions of dollars and effort being poured into this industry in terms of software and resources and advanced tools and advanced coatings and the sprayer technology. I mean, sprayers are great, but yet they come out with more technology. The paint's great, more paint technology, software. People are investing in this industry in a way that I don't think we give it credit for. And I love seeing it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, what goes through my mind. Passionate about a lot of things,
Yes.
but I can tell you one thing that you just said that pushes my button of passion, and that is where we see the females in the business. I got to tell you something. I not only am blessed with a daughter, but I'm a very technical paint person, and that technical came from two females in this business that put me in the right direction. My first boss, the first thing she said to me first week on the job is go learn, right out of college.
That's
She tells
awesome.
me go learn. So I give kudos to Tori Savoff, my first boss
Oh,
in this
man.
business. And then, of course, I had a drive to become an industrial coatings engineer, do the NACE certifications and the
Mm.
SSPC certifications, and had a female that really pushed me to do that. Her name was Janice Gray, rest her soul. And I can tell you, she knew more about paint than I will ever learn about. She forgot more about paint than I'll ever. And I can tell you, it's because of those two influences that it set me up for a great run, as far as in this business.
Mm.
So I'm all in on
Yeah.
what we're doing, the PCA, as far as the development of that. But also too, I can remember 25 years ago, and I know at 25 because my daughter was born at the time. I was sent down to Richmond, Virginia, to train to be an industrial coatings engineer
Mm.
with one of our coatings reps. And we went to one night, the first night in town, we went to the PCA meeting, Nick, 25 years ago, right? And I remember it was the Richmond chapter.
Oh, yeah.
And towards the end of the meeting, they read the book of a meeting 100 years prior.
Oh my God.
And to your point, Nick, the same challenges that day were recognized 100 years ago.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's
Amazing.
interesting business.
Well, and you know what's it gives me a lot of it sort of simultaneously makes me very optimistic and very pessimistic for a lot of things too, which is the pessimism is humans are humans, no matter where they are, no matter what generation, no matter what sort of thing. In the late 1800s when they started the PCA, it was literally because, like pre-mixed crack the can open paint was coming onto the market, and painters were afraid that all their technical ability of mixing linseed oil and white lead dust and grinding pigments was going to be completely usurped by large paint manufacturers that were going to just take all their skills away and do this. And then it was the Eastern immigrant labor, and the overall arching thing was there was this deep passion for standards in the industry. People felt like the standards were all over the place. There wasn't a universally accepted truth and this and that. And you could tell it was burning these people. I read the meetings of the Expo minutes, and they're talking about opening a series of 30 to 40 training centers in the 1800s all over the United States to make sure that the standards were taught and that the dignity of the trade was there, and people with their hands didn't disgrace painters and craftspeople from across the world. So that's how passionate it was. It's still here. We're completely addressing these things in different ways now, where instead of like recruiting people and training each painter how to paint, we have taken the stance of force multiplication, which is train the business owner, because the business owner is the greatest problem solver on the face of this planet. They are driven by money, by time, by freedom, by dignity, by success and performance, and just greatness. And magically, you find some people like me and others in our industry, we will solve those technical problems. We will come up with the 4-hour bedroom, but we need to support those contractors. And that's what the PCA and you are here to do. And we live and breathe it. This is our lives, to make better paint business owners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about something. So we have like technical standard operating procedures. We've been talking about how to paint the walls in a bedroom, which is like the tried and true, the bread and butter, something like that. We've been talking about like client experience things, like how do you practice professionalism in a house? How do you clean up after that? Now let's take steps back to these kind of esoteric standard operating procedures. Most people do not know that there is a standard, an industry-wide accepted standard for what constitutes a finished surface. You are one of probably the few people who know more about these things than I do, because you hold a special place with the PCA standards. Tell us more.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate to be asked to be part of a subcommittee a couple years ago, and I want to first start off by recognizing the committee. And the particular committee set out we in the PCA had a sound set of standards, right? We called them the commercial standards at the time, and they were very sound, but it was time to revise them. So at the direction of you and some others, we Dave Graham, who is out of Central Paint up in Ontario, was asked. Yeah, he was asked to lead the group, and I can tell you what a phenomenal leader he is to this day. We still meet, even though the revisions are done. And as I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the people on the group, and that is, besides the Dave leading us, we got Mike Cassidy. Yep. It's not a wonder that Long Paint up in Seattle is so successful. Mike is I said that there's some people that will forget more about paint the business than I'll ever learn, and Mike's one of them. Yeah. And Brad Pinshot from Frank Novak, in Cleveland, another sound person that when it comes to application and running a construction business. And we have the legendary Bob Cusimano,
Oh,
the coding inspector. I
the
mean, think
man.
about that, and think about what Bob does as far as seminars on estimating and so forth like that. So with those four right there, four industry professionals, think of I was in heaven in this thing. But then I add on to my competitors. And by the way, this is what I really love, the spirit of core here. You know what I mean? And great contributions. It was great to be on teams with, say, Dan Corum from PPG.
Yeah.
What a pro's pro. I mean, he's in charge of
Nice.
specifications for PPG. And of course, Dennis Fiorelli from Sherwin-Williams,
Yep.
extremely knowledgeable. And, to me, that, look, I'm a competitor. I love, we all love, we love, I'm an old football player. My goodness, a football coach. We love to compete. But I can tell you there is nothing better than to be put on a committee and you see that your competitors and you are working in one direction, and that is the elevation of the trade.
Yep.
So kudos to all of us out there, and to Dave Graham for leading us on this journey. And subsequently, we were able to revise the PCA standards. And really, the key features when it comes to that is that a clear definition of what constitutes a properly painted substrate. I think that was some great work that was done on that. Also, to quality control guidelines, revised recommendations for achieving consistent, high quality results, including surface preparation and the application, and of course, customer satisfaction best practices. So I want to say that it's worth the read. It's worth the reference. Go to the PCA site and click on the standards. And it also too. I want to point out that one of the things that I found so fantastic about the project was we went about it the right way. And what I mean is we went about it from, once again, that customer centric perspective.
Yep.
Who are we serving with these standards? And if you look at it, the end result is one of the major customers that we all have, right, is the architect, the specifier. We want the specifier to write in a specification. Yes. All work should be done in accordance with the PCA standards.
Yep.
So it's quite a project, and we still meet. And there's some, I'm sure that. What I always find amazing is that there's new challenges that come up. Right now we have discussions about scope of work of not painting wiring. And scope of work of the different compositions of concrete mixtures.
Yes.
And how we can eliminate what we're seeing is some of the challenges from a simple adhesion perspective on different types of, or the newer types of concrete. So not only did the standards become revised, but also too, and by the way, if anybody has any ideas of how they want to see the subcommittee evolve, I'm my gosh, get them to you, and you've got Dave Graham, and we're always looking to add more value. And, quite honestly, I get the feeling that we really don't want to break up as a subcommittee.
No, we'll find something else for you guys to do. Don't worry.
I think we really enjoy each other's company, if you want to know the truth.
Well, you guys were, so you can tell, I'll give some people some perspective about the standards and some user cases and things like this, but it's really good to note that, there's always been committees. There's some committees that are actually mandated by the bylaws and policies of the PCA, right? And then there's some that serve at the behest of the operations team and of me, the chairperson. And we greatly expanded the committee structure. I think we added about 9 or 10 different committees. Standards committee has always been there because we are the standard holder. Success, as far as a committee goes, is you pile on people, everybody 20, 30, 40 years plus experience. You double the effectiveness by having people who are deeply passionate. You give them a demilitarized zone so that PPG, Sherwin, Benjamin Moore can all come together for a common good in a safe place where they know their efforts are going to be used to push the industry forward for the betterment of every human, every paint company, every contractor, every client. And then things just get done. They don't ask a lot of the PCA board of directors. You guys just magically are amazing leaders, technical wizards, and you guys revise these horribly sophisticated standards. Like these things are like every word matters. You know, it's a legal document. These things, these standards are here for a common demilitarized ground between a client, a contractor, a painting contractor, the end user, so that you can put them in your contracts into legal binding agreements that, especially when we talk about commercial and industrial, can be millions and millions and millions of dollars on one job. A difference between their THEIR and THYE apostrophe RE can mean the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is not some committee where you guys get together and rubber stamp some things. This is deeply meaningful work that means so much to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So,
So I
yep.
want to talk about one of the most famous standards ever. Oh, sorry, perspective first. My Dave Graham talked to me deeply about these things. I mean, he's a guy who comes to me, he shares all of your passion for this. He's like, Nick, we really want to do some stuff with the standards. I'm like, all that wording, all that stuff there. Like, I don't have the mind for the compliance. I use the standards, but I don't have the brain power and the personality to dig into every word of these things. And I was like, well, if you want to revise all the standards with a bunch of your friends, you go ahead, but that's not work for me. And so the reason he said he wanted to do that though was it really sort of was skewed almost too much in favor of the painting contractor. It was really sort of like some of the wording of these standards were very onerous to anybody who would hire a professional painting contractor. The beauty of you guys and the PCA in this committee is that even though these standards 10 years ago were better for us, you guys recognized that and said, we need to be impartial. We need to be fair. We want this to be a great set of standards for everybody so that specifiers all across the world will happily accept these, because it not only takes care of the architect, the designer, the specifier, the general contractor, it takes care of the painting contractor as well. That's what I love, that you guys redid these things. There's noticeable changes to that sort of thing.
Early in the project, we came to a consensus of exactly that point. Now, obviously, the protection of any type of legal protection for our brothers and sisters, paint contractors, is important, right? I mean, GCs have black law, the documents there and so forth like that. I'm not a lawyer, but there's a lot of things out there and not a lot for the contractors. But once again, we came to the realization that the customer-centric approach, understanding who is our customer and rewriting the specifications, because you're right, they were written in such a confrontational way in the past that we really, if we expected or if one of our goals was adaption, utilization, we needed to be able to start thinking more customer centric, and those customers are specifiers, owners agents, so on and so forth like that. So it really was, and the group was committed to it. I mean, the group really, we went line by line, word by word, spelling by spelling, and very, very monotonous. And I got to tell you that I'll be honest with you. Some of that is not my forte, but
Most of it is not most people's forte, but it doesn't mean it's not important, right?
yeah, but fortunately we had people in that group. I mean, like that really understood and I believe enjoyed the parsing of words in order to make the whole thing come together and be right. So, I think it's a sound document, and it's a document that I can proudly say to my architectural and design representatives,
Yep.
Hey, make sure that you talk to specifiers about, the PCA standards. Because really it sets the stage for repeatable quality. And isn't that what they want? Isn't what the specifier wants? Is the owner's agent, they should demand that they get quality, and so on and so forth like that. And of course, all the other, the top 10 items that we read earlier today about, the desired outcomes of our customers.
Yep.
So very, very, it's a great document.
So a little more perspective for everybody. Sadly, and I will own this 100%. More people should know about the PCA and the industry standards. Like, there's a lot of things where we put behind a paywall. If you pay your, I think it's $500 a year, heavily subsidized by champion sponsors, Benjamin Moore, this should be about a $5,000 a year membership to this thing. Those membership prices are literally subsidized by our champion sponsors like Benjamin Moore. And you guys put your money where your mouth is because you want your contractors here. These standards are free right now to anybody. This is the beautiful part of this objective 140-year-old nonprofit standing in the demilitarized zone between contractors, general contractors, specifiers, all the manufacturers of paints, of sundries, of equipment, things like this, where we can all come together and say, we are going to give an immense amount of time and money to these things. I mean, Benjamin Moore gives millions of dollars to the PCA. You guys also volunteer for these committees. You sit on our board. This is how important it is. And it's so important that we literally give these away for free. Right now, at the end of the show, there will be a link in here where you can go to the PCA's website right now. We're not even asking for your email address to get on a mailing list. We're not asking for membership. We're not asking for anything. You can download all these free right now. And that's how important these industry standards are. And we want them adopted industry-wide. And it starts with contractors, it goes to the manufacturers, and pretty soon all the general contracts, architects, and specifiers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tremendous value.
Do you have a favorite standard?
Oh, goodness. There's 25, right? There's 25. And not so much a favorite, but I'm going to say a real world example of how the standard can help. And this happens to me. I've told you about the relationship business and how I love it. And I say I have my contractors, right? And remember, I've had territories in Houston, Dallas, Kansas City, Denver, and now I'm serving in the corporate office. But along the way, I have these contractors that I still serve and I love, and they're family, and it's not uncommon for me to get a call from one of, quote, my contractors who says, "Oh, Mike, I'm in a bind here. Punch list day. My goodness, I'm trying to get out of here. Mike, we've done a good job, but Mike, they're walking the critically lit long hallway with something that's shooting out lumens, greater than what the sun is generating."
Yep.
And I say, stop. Let's go back. First of all, let's get to the PCA. Let's download the standards. PCA P1, right, is touch-up painting and damage repair and definition of properly painted surfaces. And in that standard, under the inspection clause of it talks about what's acceptable is the inspection under finished lighting conditions, right?
Yes.
Under finished lighting conditions. That's what's fair. What's not fair is to bring in the sun, the lumens, and walk that, when I say critically lit hallway, we're talking about that long hallway that at the end of the hallway, level 5, gypsum finish to begin with, end of the hallway, you've got light streaming down. And, obviously the old rule of the higher the sheen, the more imperfections, right? But, the thing about it is that's just one example, very common example of when my phone rings and, "Hey, Mike, what resource can help me in this situation here?" It's fairness, it's integrity,
And
and
what it's not saying is, this ain't my fault, homeowner, general contractor, this is your problem. What this is saying, this is an objective line that we can all agree to hold us accountable, but also hold them accountable to say, when this is reached, we all agree that I get paid for this and this meets the standard. That it seems simple. It is so important. It is literally the most beautiful sentence I've ever seen in any standards is the one I highlighted right here, 5.2. The acceptability of the surface shall be determined when viewed without magnification at a distance of 39 inches, 1 meter, under finished lighting conditions from a normal standing position. That literally is poetry. It is the fewest amount of words to convey the biggest possible things, which means 39 inches away from a wall, you must be standing up. You cannot have a flashlight. The finished lighting in the room has to be there. If you see a flaw from that position, it is a flaw. If you don't, we are done here. And we all need to agree on that.
Absolutely. And that's back to that triangle once again: scope, quality, right? So it weaves together, let's say,
Yep.
and it's a phenomenal resource that the PCA provides. And I encourage every contractor not just to references, but hey, join the PCA, join it.
Yep. It's
It's
huge.
your organization. You
Yeah.
know, it's the PCA is also truly customer centric. You
It
know,
is.
so
And so I want to talk about now, like, the implementation of something like this. Now, this is completely useless if you print this off, tack it to your wall in your office, tell your painters that this is the acceptable standard, but your clients don't know about it. So now there's this whole part about being a good patron of industry standards. There's many things that you need to do to make sure that this is fair, that this is being observed, and people are informed about it. So the basis is on every single estimate form that my company sends out. I am a firm believer in a one-page contract, right? There are many things that I would like to include in a contract that don't make it into a one page, but even one page, I don't think most of my clients actually read my contract before they sign it. Now, you could stand back and say, that ain't my problem. You signed it. But you also have to be a good patron. People don't want to be taken advantage of. So, number one, the standard exists. Number two, you have to get it into your company. Number three, you have to put it in writing in your contract. Number four, the most important part, which most people leave out, is then verbally walk your client through it. And there is a two distinct data sets in my company. Writing only in the contract they sign, more people start complaining about what constitutes a finished surface. They get their cell phone camera out, they put their face against the wall and look. When we write it down, they sign it, but we also describe what a finished surface is, it never happens. It is a universal truth that if you be a good contractor and put it in writing and also verbally walk them through it because you genuinely care about them, the proclivity of somebody to take a diver's flashlight with a billion lumens and shine it down a drywall surface and point out flaws goes down to nearly zero. So that's, again, you've been around this industry long enough to understand that, great, something's in writing that only gets you partially of the way there. It's the human side of this. You need to still be a decent human being and walk that person through it and then live it. Train your painters to it. Train them to interact with the client about a finished surface, unfinished surface. It's the human side that we can't leave out with this, is that determines success.
yeah, and you know that what that triggers in my mind is a philosophy that I've always practiced, and you know, working for a great company like Benjamin Moore, whose integrity is pivotal, is key to our existence. And what I mean by that is you know, with all that, there's still the challenges.
Yep.
But you know what? It puts us all in a position to be part of the solution and versus part of the problem. You
Yep.
know what I mean? It's the standards, the definitions, the descriptions really level the playing field from a standpoint of qualifying your customers' expectations, and
Yep.
subsequently, you know, let's face it, it it, uh, it at least puts everybody in a position to to be part of the solution versus,
Yep.
you know, hey, it's not my deal. I'm walking away here.
Yep.
You know, nobody wants that. And granted, there are times where it happens, right? It just
Oh,
human.
it's always going to happen.
Yeah,
Humans are human.
it does. But you know what? You know, as I hear you say, we want to be good humans, and subsequently, it at least communicates and helps form that expectation that our customers should have about
Yep.
what's reasonable and what's not.
Yep.
You know,
We
we all
had
see what it takes to paint a car fender, right?
yeah.
My goodness, think about a wall. Think about a level 5 gypsum finish. You know, my
Amazing.
goodness, it's quite a challenge.
Very interesting thing that me and my friend Jason Paris have observed as we travel around, travel buddies. We go to, 18 different events a year, give or take, all over the country. And he's really good at condensing observations. And he's like, man, painters can sometimes be angry, right? It's a dirty, dusty, dangerous, sometimes dull thing that we do, right? And we our minds and our bodies and our families sometimes suffer for it. And you sprinkle over that it's manual labor, so it just feels different, than creating spreadsheets for a living. And he likes to remind people that, like, painters are a little angry. Sometimes we feel taken advantage of all the thought we put into things like this. Also, what we observe is that You get a group of painters together, and it doesn't take more than about 10 minutes of open conversation before people start regaling each other with stories of what we call in my company PBCers. People be crazy. These clients who are just completely unhinged. I mean, literally, their noses are pressed against the wall with flashlights. You tell them, you signed a contract that says that we're 39 inches away, and they look at you and say, you think that matters to me? I don't care. I'm going to do this regardless of whether you do this. So painters talk about these instances so much because they're deeply affected by them, because the vast majority of our industry is so emotionally connected to what they do. It is their passion. They think about it more than everybody else. They research the molecular science. They test coatings to great detriment of themselves and their families. And then when somebody calls them on something that's not really a flaw, you can only take that personal. So what these standards are is not a magic bullet, right? You take that magic sentence right there, you put it in your contract, you even tell somebody about it. It doesn't mean you're never going to have to deal with it. But now you have done the thing that a decent human being does, right?
Yes.
There was one instance this year where we had literally that. Our estimator could not have done a better job of walking somebody through. They literally will say 39 inches, 1 meter, right? If you're on the metric or imperial, it's no magnified light, is this and that. And the client, two very technical, engineer minded clients, which are sometimes the detriment of what we do, they just said, we're perfectionists and we have, standards. And we say, that's great. We love that. You're our ideal client. But we also have a generally accepted objective standard that we're going to adhere to. And in fact, you have to sign the contract that we're going to adhere to it. In the end, they said, that's great, but we want something more. What this didn't do was solve all the problems. What this did do was bring a conclusion to this project sooner, where we said, listen, we just want to be decent human beings. You signed this. We verbally wrote you through this. We even said before the project, there is no such thing as perfect. We understand you want something different than this, but at some point, we can only be decent human beings, and we have done our part as a good contractor. If you will never have another experience like you have had with us about how honest we are about what we promise you. And in the end, they said, you know what? We're just going to compromise and we'll do this. So it brought, even with a problem client, a true 10 out of 10 PBCer, this standard and our manipulation and handling of it brought us to a happy conclusion. And that client in the end shook our hand. It would not
Yes.
happen if there wasn't an objective thing.
Yes. And, I saw your recent post about that, right? I read that,
Oh, the
and
post about anger. Yeah.
that, yeah, okay, yeah. But what's really what I love is the comments and the reactions to your post
Ooh.
by the painter, the community, right? And I think I think of Nick out of St. Louis. What a phenomenal response that he
Nick
had.
was awesome. Yep.
This we are so, once again, back to this business. We're in a business that we have some amazing individuals that want to do right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That they're looking out for everybody, not just the success of their business, but their customers. And hey, let's check that attitude and let's go back in and be part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
That's it.
So kudos to a lot of people who responded to that post, Nick, because it was it just, once again, you read something like that and you think, hey, I'm in the right spot. I'm in the right business.
Boy, you know what? You want a litmus test for whether your industry is on the right track or whether you're surrounding yourself with good people. You only have to gauge reactions to this post. And this is a very famous post. And part of the thing you're reacting to, which is there's this very famous saying in the trades. It's on t-shirts, it's on posters. People love to post about it. You don't owe me for the job. You owe me for the years and years that I've toiled in this industry and made mistakes. And you know what? The knee-jerk reaction, it feels really good to be like, absolutely. I have suffered. I've got sunburn. I've broke my leg. I've stood on top of a 40-foot ladder. I've leaned over a roof. That's worth something. You owe me for that. Those posts never sat well with me, because if I was that client, I would say, I owe you for your years of toiling? That doesn't feel right to me. How about you tell me what you need to do this job? If it's valuable, I'll hire you. Whether you've done well or poorly with all your years previous to this doesn't feel like that's an interaction that I owe you anything for. So for me, I've always quietly sat back on that. You don't want to ruffle trades. If you push back on that immediately, there's going to be a lot of very emotional reactions. But finally, I just said, you know what, guys, I feel like sharing my feelings on this. This never sat well with me. I hate the sentiment. And in fact, most of the time when you guys say this, that comes off as angry. And I don't think clients like that very much. Like, I wouldn't hire anybody who said, you owe me for my 30 years of trial and error. I would like, oh, wait, I'm going to find somebody else who doesn't feel that I owe them anything or has a chip on their shoulder. So it was
Right.
just my observation of that thing. And I felt comfortable enough and in a position where I could be honest about it. And turns out almost all the people around us feel the same way.
Absolutely. And it's so, I tell you, that's so encouraging. So encouraging. I love
So
it.
encouraging. And so, okay, final thing. So we've talked about standard operating procedures, technical, theoretical ones. We've talked about industry standards, things like this. We've talked about the human side, but we also have to remember that success has many components to it, right? Write this down, throw it in your contract. Don't tell anybody about it. It's only going to be reasonably successful. You need a great, simple standard operating procedure. You need the human interaction to train people, to inform them about it, to hold the standards of those standards. But then also a baseline in my company, which is something we almost never talk about, is buy the best stuff, put it on in a simple way over and over and over again, and limit variables. A standard operating procedure in my company is buy the best stuff. We have now checked off a variable. You get premium coatings, premium tools. Now that is not a thing. You can't say my roller handle broke and we got paint on the carpet. You can't say this paint flashed. Well, we tried to save a little bit of money. We found $12 a gallon paint. We tried to find profitability through that. You literally buy stuff that's the best, and then you worry about the human side of it. So I just don't want people, I don't want this discussion to go without the sort of sub discussion of this is all based upon simple written standards, trainable standards, human support on top of a base of premium products.
So key.
Yeah.
Absolutely so key. And when we talk about premium products, to me, that, fortunate working for a company like Benjamin Moore, who we're so blessed to be known for quality. That brings me back to that SOP of repeatable quality, and the same holds true from the perspective of Benjamin Moore. From our leadership all the way through our chemists and our product managers, our field sales, and so on and so forth. It's all about getting the best products in our customers' hands in order for them to do the job better.
Yep.
Right. And that's what we do. So we're just so fortunate. Absolutely so fortunate.
Well, and I think people a lot of the times take for granted and sometimes don't even take the amount of ownership they should have. When something doesn't go right on a painting project, a lot of the times people will either look for external blame or take ownership internally. When I look at what could go wrong on a job site and you take a look at the pile of things that is human related internally in your business and things like that versus externally, the client and the paint and the weather, to me, it's almost laughable for me the more I deeply think about this, which is when you think about standardized things in our industry, the paint is one of the only things that's a standard, a reliable standard in our entire industry. When you think about the chances that something goes wrong on a paint site and it's a bad gallon of paint, that is winning the lottery. In my 32 years, I have witnessed one bad batch of paint. In 32 years, 700 jobs a year, thousands of gallons of paint. So I say this because if you're a painting contractor and you're on a job site and a coating fails, the likelihood of it being the actual coating is so much less than human error. and it's so easy, right? It's so easy to say that, oh, listen, I work really hard. I meant really well and the coating didn't work out yet. But I would say the only way to really know and the way to prevent this is to have a standard operating procedure, to train everybody on it, to hold people accountable to it, see that it's done correctly. And then maybe once in 30 years, you're actually going to get a bad batch of paint. The beauty of that is you'll actually know it, because if your humans are the variable, if you're trying different paint every project, if you try different roller covers and brushes on every one, if you try it in variable weather on variable substrates and something goes wrong, the list of variables is so immense, you're never going to actually be able to troubleshoot. standard operating procedure, human support, premium products, number one, you're probably not going to have things go wrong. If they do, you're going to be able to pinpoint it to not only make sure your SOP is good, but then to also have a fix for the client. Otherwise, you're going to toil. You're going to try a different shine, a different technique, a different thing, and you could just be riding a rabbit hole all the way down.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, statistically, from a causality point of
Yeah.
view on those complaints, you're right. You know, it rarely, very rarely is it the product. But what comes to my mind at that is widen your circle of friends. You can never have too many good friends. And here's what I mean by that: is this that's the value of the Benjamin Moore rep. You know, get work with your local Benjamin Moore rep on such things. Training, how the product applies, things like that. In order to just really hone that SOP and create the best experience that you can for your customer. So, I stop and I think, and some of my greatest contractors I met over a complaint.
Absolutely.
And by the way, the first time I've met him, that particular person, it wasn't in the best of circumstances. But they turn out to be your lifelong friends.
Yep.
And you have a vested interest in their success. So, once again, I highly encourage everyone, premium products, yes, but also too, remember this relationship business, get a hold of your rep.
Yep.
Get a relationship with your rep. It's so important.
Well, and widening your circles is an important thing. And I don't think people understand what a resource a Benjamin Moore rep can be for them. I mean, because not only you have people, your million miles says all that we need. You're out there pounding the pavement. Now, you have a whole network of humans out there to help you. And implicit in that relationship with that local boots on the ground Benjamin Moore rep here is they have the entire chain of command above them, including you eventually, if they need it. So it's this sort of portal. You kick open one door to form a great relationship, be nice to a Benjamin Moore rep, and you have the resources of a monstrous industry leading company after that. And honestly, I think people waste a lot of their interactions with paint reps, but with only calling them when a coating's failed, which again, when 99% of it is human error, looking to that. Also, complaining about the price of their paint and then asking for a bunch of free shirts. That's like when I am around paint reps, their phone, text and calls revolves around, you need to tell this client I didn't ruin their house with this paint. Where's those free shirts? And I want my Regal a little bit less. And it's like, man, that is a taxing relationship. You're not being a decent human being if it's not a back and forth, and you're underutilizing one of the best resources in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
QR code down here. You guys were kind enough to make a QR code. If you want to be connected with one of these awesome, decent human beings in the country, this is it. This is going to connect you. And obviously, Mike and I will be on here. If you message us, we can connect you as well too. But again, when you talk about resources that are free, Benjamin Moore is not going to charge you to have a rep. It's a free resource. You take some industry standards, you take the human support like this, premium products. All you have to do is do it now. Like, it's success in this industry is not a mystery anymore. Access to information is universal and free. Now it's sort of up to you, the master craftsperson, the entrepreneur. Do you have enough grit to actually connect all these wonderful things and do something with it for the betterment of your own life and your clients?
Fantastic.
Love it. Mike, final words. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? And any final words for our watchers and listeners?
Yeah. Mike.Mundwiller, MUNDWILLER at benjaminmoore.com. It's definitely the best way to get a hold of me. That's for sure.
Yeah. Personal request from a lot of nutty master crafts people out there. I don't know if you can do anything about this. We know you're a very powerful man within Benjamin Moore. But I think our beloved Satin Impervo in the red shiny can is all but basically going away. I know we can find it in some few spots. For people who don't know, one of the finest oil enamels ever produced in the history of the coatings world. If it does go away, which it might, would you ever please reintroduce a heritage series, a commemorative series, something there, just so us old, weird, nutty master craftspeople can relive those glory days of the late 80s, early 90s of the red satin and Pervo cans.
Yes, I obviously 35, 35 years with Benjamin Moore. That particular product plays a special place. It has a special place in my heart. I'm a big fan of Advance. So and of course, it's for the greater good, sustainability, right?
100%.
We're all for the environment. So it's I take your point, well noted. So
And it's, again,
I
it's just
love the idea, by the way. I love the idea of doing that. So
it's just being a nutty old crafts person. And, something that I don't think I've ever shared with you or anybody at Benjamin Moore, but when I was first cutting my teeth, when I started my business 17 years ago now, I was raised in a painting business where we didn't own a sprayer and we didn't own a pressure washer. Like literally everything was brushed. And my first year of owning my own painting business, I got contacted by a cabinet maker that wanted a sprayed finish, non-negotiable. I didn't own a sprayer and I had never sprayed before. But that old can-do attitude, I marched down and I got a Titan 440 because I did Scott Frost, an amazing human being up here who sold me my first legitimate sprayer. I marched down to my Ace Hardware that sold my Benjamin Moore, and I said, "What do you got to put on cabinets?" And there was Impervo, the water base, the green can.
Mhm.
That the first the first couple years of business ever was all that water-based Impervo. And I learned how to spray. I learned the techniques. I learned how to brush it. I learned to do fine finishes. And then when you guys came out with Advance, I adapted to that. And then the company went to Scuffex too. So it's been this long march of like, I cut my teeth on what came after red satin and Pervo, the old
Right.
traditional stuff. So I'm very blessed that you and I have that experience with what was satin and Pervo. I'm sure people in the 1950s used to talk about lead paint the way that we talk about oil enamel right now. Oh, that old lead, it covered so well. It was such protection and things like that. But again, it's just, I have a lot of fond memories of this industry. I have cut my teeth and I've progressed as a craftsperson and a business owner right along with how Benjamin Moore has introduced, scientifically advanced coatings. And yeah, it's just great that we can all grow together and do this. It's a fun industry, Mike.
And I can tell you that we at Benjamin Moore greatly appreciate, you working with you trusting our products.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, you're providing for your family, you're providing for your employees' families, and we take that serious. We really take that serious. We realize that it's my goodness, it's our obligation, to put contractors with products that do the job better.
Yep.
So greatly appreciate you for that.
And it goes without saying, and you probably, well, when I've been around people from paint manufacturers, they don't get enough praise for the things that they do that really nobody that we sometimes take for granted, which is a consistent premium product all the time. And if my labor, if my weather, if my clients were as consistent as the stuff you guys put in your paint cans, my life would be a breeze. So just that's a note of gratitude from me and all the other painting contractors about how consistent and professional you guys are with what you do.
Well, I greatly appreciate that, and I can tell you, I will pass those sentiments along to our chemists and our product managers, because that's really, when it comes to consistent quality, that's really where that starts, in that lab. So, and they're passionate about it. So.
Yep. And those coatings are the basis of all of our standard operating procedures. There's a lot of things we can't interchange, and they are sometimes created in whole cloth around a very specific, very premium product because it works so well. And then we can deliver those successes to our clients. So yeah. All right, Mike, you are awesome. Thank you for doing this. It's always good to talk to you. It was great to see you in Minneapolis for the residential event. And man, have a great holiday season, and just thank you for what you have done for our industry. It's been a blessing to do this alongside you.
It is my pleasure, and I want to close by saying to you the same thing I said to you the first time I met you, and that was, I said, Nick Slavic, I said, I want to thank you for your service to our country, and I want to thank you for the great service that you provide our industry. So, with that said, you too, to the Slavic family, have a fantastic holiday season, and Look, I love following you and Jason and everybody on Facebook. So it's been fantastic. So once
Man,
again, thank you again.
we're grateful for you. Have a great holiday week, multiple weeks. And yeah, looking forward to a bright 2025 alongside you. So, all right,
See you in
everybody.
Colorado Springs.
Oh, it's going to be fun. So, all right. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be looking on for questions and comments afterwards. I'll throw in some additional links on here to the industry standards, finding contractors through, or finding representatives through Benjamin Moore. Thanks everybody for watching. Kindest thing you can do is like, subscribe, follow, share in your stories and your feeds. And have a great weekend, everybody.